cable TV service. They'll also let you know about upcoming programming and other special events on Valley Cable. This week at Valley Cable, Mondays through Fridays at 10:30 a.m. and 7 o'clock p.m. on Cable 10, Valley Cable, Channel 10B.
May 2nd is Election Day in Naugatuck, and to help you make a more informed choice, Valley Cable Vision and the Naugatuck Daily News presenting this debate between Mayor Rado, the 5-term incumbent, and Clarence Schiller, his Republican opponent. We continue our questioning now with Sev Rinaldi of the Naugatuck Daily News, and Mr. Schiller will respond to his question first.
Okay, Mr. Schiller, Mayor Rado says that Naugatuck is one of the least taxed towns in the state. You, on the other hand, say that Naugatuck is one of the most taxed towns in the state. Which one of you is correct?
I have a News and Views bulletin from the Connecticut Public Expenditure Council. The source of their information was Equalized Grand List from the State Office of Policy and Management. And this is used to calculate the funding for the education. In New Haven County, we are one of the highest taxed towns after New Haven, Waterbury, and West Haven. And statewide, we're the 21st highest taxed town in the state. And this is the information that I have used.
Mayor Rado, what is your response to that?
I believe that my opponent has misconstrued. We're 21st lower, and he's got his figures mixed up. Dated CPEC, dated January, it says per capita municipal spending, local tax reliance, and it shows that there's 148 towns in the state of Connecticut that pay more property taxes than the borough of Naugatuck. The periodical that my Republican opponent has contains many factors that my Republican opponent neglected to tell you. This is very clear, concise. I can show it to the panel. And anyone else from Naugatuck or anyone else wants to come up to the office, I'll show them. It's very clear. You cannot misinterpret what's meant here. Incidentally, on March 16th of this year, the Naugatuck Daily News ran a story about Naugatuck's financial condition, and one of the items in that newspaper said there's a silver lining. Naugatuck is one of the lowest taxed towns in the state of Connecticut. This was done entirely by the Naugatuck Daily News, not my opponent, not by Bill Rado, or any other party. I think the figures don't lie, but sometimes liars figure.
From the Naugatuck Daily News now, another question from Tom Hennig, this one addressed first to Mayor Rado.
Mayor, on another topic, opponents have said that your style of leadership sometimes borders on the dictatorial, and that morale in several departments is low because of that. Do you feel that that's true?
Well, an indication is 43 consecutive years in office. Any office I've ever run for, the people overwhelmingly elect me. I'm the nicest guy that's ever been in that city hall to the people. I treat everybody nice. Don't take my word for it. Ask the employees. Everybody's treated fairly, including unions, non-union employees. Everybody gets the same treatment. They say it because they have to attack a politician. Unlike most politicians, they say you can't survive by telling the truth. I'm one that has survived and will continue to survive. I've leveled with the people, will continue to level with the people. I feel I have a big edge over my opponent because of experience. He has none whatsoever. He's been elected only once as a Burgess. He served 5 times because I appointed him, because of the mandate for minority representation. He lost the last 5 elections. His opponents graciously set aside and let him sit in that place. And he has, if I was running for mayor, I would advise Clarence in the future, go to some meetings, go meet our employees, visit every department. He doesn't do that. You know, you've got to learn the job. You just don't walk into, I couldn't do Larry's job. He's got experience. Or your job, write newspapers. Nothing beats experience. Ask your dad and mom.
Mr. Schiller, what's your sense of morale at Town Hall?
The mayor has survived all these years, but I'm not sure he told the truth. I'm not sure he's telling the truth right now. I have contacts in the town hall. I have contacts with the police people. I've had contacts with the fighters, the volunteers, and I have been involved for these last 12 years on various subcommittees of the Borough Board. I have been involved. I have not gotten involved in negotiations. However, I think that the 9% increase that the employees were granted last year was a very generous increase. Not to deny them anything, however, I'm not sure that the economy recommended that. So certainly the mayor should have a good rapport with them if he thinks he does. However, as I go around town, I find that talking to some of these employees, I feel that their morale is low. When they went to, when the two fire departments got back together again, they were, I understand, were thrown out of the mayor's office when they approached them one day. And this is the extent of just what goes on in the town hall and what the mayor is telling you. I think the facts have been distorted. I think he's discrediting me, and I think it's totally obnoxious.
Now to Janet Hennick for the next question, which will go to Mr. Schiller first.
This is a very important question, and several people have mentioned this, especially young people. Downtown Naugatuck right now is suffering through hard economic times. Would you please give us an idea of your vision for the future of downtown Naugatuck, and how do you plan to stimulate economic growth in the downtown area?
Yes, I will. Thank you. I have been accused of suggesting something that the administration has already been working on. I had indicated that I would revive and establish a plan of development. Again, the Democrats and my opponent had chose to distort that fact, saying that they are presently doing that. However, all they are doing is revising a zoning map. That is all they are doing. It's a catch-up game to bring the map up to date. What I am looking for in the downtown area is to establish a plan of development, and I will approach the state tax department to see if we can initiate some concessions for added investment by the merchants or the property owners in the downtown area for a period of time. We presently have some small cities grant money, but I would still feel as though there should be something in addition to that as far as the nature of taxes. Because what happens when somebody invests in something just when they're trying to pay their bills, their taxes have gone up for that year, and I feel as though it's one way that the Borough of Naugatuck can say, thank you for putting your faith in Naugatuck. Let's see if we can thank you for investing here. Maybe we can save you a little money in taxes. And I feel this might be a spur for some added development in Naugatuck. We have to get involved with the merchants. We have to be cooperative with all the departments, all the commissions. We have to give good police protection. We have to give better services than what they have received, especially in the Union City area.
Mayor Rado, what do you think about the shape of downtown Naugatuck?
I think in not very good shape. However, it has improved tremendously over the past administration of which he was a part of. I have already received $425,000 small cities grant to be able to lend to the merchants at a very low interest rate. I'm going to suggest about 5%, so they can rehabilitate their places. I'm in negotiations with Uniroyal, and something real good for the town of Naugatuck is going to happen within the next couple of weeks. We'll have a major industry according to what their attorneys told us. I've been negotiating with the Risden manufacturer to keep them there. I negotiated a pact with Uniroyal, who had given the town of Naugatuck some property that Risden is interested in, that had strings attached to it without a cost of 1 cent to the Borough of Naugatuck. I got the strings unloosened, and now the Borough of Naugatuck owns the property outright. Concerning he'd go downtown to merchants, I do that already. There isn't a week that I don't visit every merchant in the Borough of Naugatuck. There isn't a month that I don't visit every industry in Naugatuck. I ask them if they have problems, if they're having like these water problems. I offer our town services to keep them in business. And the fact that our grand list, which is our taxable property, has grown from 100 million to 300 million is an indication how well satisfied they are. In addition to that, I would never, ever give somebody a tax break and let the people of Naugatuck that have been paying their taxes pay for somebody else. I say by having equal taxes equal services and everything else for the people, it'll balance out. Why did our industrial park fill up? Other towns give tax breaks. They want to come to Naugatuck.
Sev Rinaldi, the city editor of the Naugatuck Daily News, back to you now, and your first question directed to the mayor.
Okay. Recently, the paid and volunteer firemen in town reached agreement on a mutual assistance pact. Part of that pact including the stationing of paid firemen in the East Side Firehouse. How do you react to that agreement, and is it true that you weren't thrilled about it at first? And did you throw them out, as Mr. Schiller said before?
That is 100% lie. And I'll resign as mayor tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock if he can bring me the firemen that said I put him out. They come up without an appointment. They sat down. They would not give me a copy of their agreement to discuss, and they said, let's get out of here. They got out. Meanwhile, secretly, without informing the mayor, my Republican opponent was meeting with them, hoping to gain their support. And he also made a remark about the police. They're going to endorse me next week and give me a contribution. That's how much and fair I am. But that is a pure, unadulterated lie. The firemen and I get along very well, and when I get to look it over, find out the legality of it, I don't just jump. I'm not going to jeopardize the town of Naugatuck into lawsuits and so forth. They have union contracts that he is not familiar with because he never comes to read one. All of these factors, you have to go through everything. You can't just make a snap decision. They admitted for 2.5 months they met with him and others. And they wanted me to make a decision in 5 minutes. Not Bill Rado. I want to know what's going on, and I want to make sure it's legal, and I want to make sure it's best for our community.
Mr. Schiller, your response to the same question.
Yes, the paid and volunteer fire department has been working on this for a couple of months. I have not been meeting with them. I was asked to attend one of their meetings just only 2 weeks ago, and that was the first meeting I ever attended with them. As far as getting involved in union contracts, I'd indicated earlier that I wasn't particularly interested in that. And the reason for not getting involved in union contracts is that I have a brother-in-law who is a member of the police department, and I feel as though that would be a conflict of interest. I will not be maligned or have my integrity questioned to the extent that I'm doing something for my brother-in-law. I feel that the paid and volunteer fire department provide a great service to the borough of Naugatuck, and I feel that they should be treated well, and I don't think we give them enough credit.
Okay, now to Tom Hennick for the next question directed first to Mr. Schiller.
To follow up on the discussion of the agreement between the two fire departments, do you specifically favor returning paid firemen to the East Side Firehouse?
Tom, I most certainly do. I sold that land for the East Side Firehouse to the borough of Naugatuck in 1971. I'm sure that might come up as a campaign issue. It was approximately a ½ acre of land, and I sold it for $3,400. I felt at that time, because of high incidence of loss of life due to fires on the east side of town, and that it would be sort of a contribution and a service to the borough. So I then sold the land to the borough to establish the East Side Firehouse, and it was to be an all-volunteer house. However, after the house was built, the volunteers found that they couldn't man it, so they then said, well, let's put up some paid men. The paid men were up there for, I believe, 10 years. And then it seemed as though the mayor was using the volunteer organization against the paid department to try to wrangle concessions out of the union, break down the manpower clause, and it seemed like there was an awful lot of dissension, and eventually the volunteers then took over the East Side house after the paid men moved downtown. This decreased the service on the East Side after a period of time because the volunteers weren't able to respond to the fire on a first call basis. The East Side residents did lose some protection, in my opinion. The mayor will dispute that, I'm sure. However, I feel that we shouldn't use one department against the other to try to wrangle any concessions out of anyone, especially a volunteer organization and a paid department who is trying to do their best to give the services to the Naugatuck.
Mayor Rado.
Yes, I don't know how he can make a statement like that I'm putting one against the other. Number one, I'll tell you how great our fire safety has improved in Naugatuck. I just talked to Larry Sweeney and asked him what the insurance rates are now for the borough of Naugatuck. When I took office, there were $22 per $1,000 worth of insurance. Today, they're $9. For every $1 million worth of insurance the borough of Naugatuck has now, we save $13,000 in premiums. In addition, excuse me a minute, can I have in addition, in 1971, there was a referendum by the people of Naugatuck that specifically said the East Side Firehouse was for volunteers. So that is one of the questions between the two groups. I have no objection in 2 paid men going up there if the people don't care, but I'm going to tell you this, I'm not going to spend any more money. If they can get together without spending money, based on the insurance survey, we're getting more protection. We don't have to spend any more money. The manpower clause, one of the greatest things I ever accomplished in my first negotiations with the unions. We were spending $65,000 a year in overtime, whether or not we needed overtime for the men. They took it out. They took it out. In addition, I don't believe that my Republican opponent realizes that Naugatuck is one of 3 cities that has a paid fire department from Winston all the way to Bridgeport. Many other cities have all volunteers, and they're working very well. I believe that they used a lot more dollars, whether or not they need men. When they need men, I'm the first one to let them go right ahead. They have survived. We have one of the best records in the state of Connecticut.
Now to Janet Hennick, the editorial writer for the Naugatuck Daily News, and the first response will come from Mr. Rado.
One more question on the fire department situation. The paid fire department has claimed recently that it is understaffed. Do you agree with that?
Of course not. They say it's understaffed. They'd like 10 more men. I'd like 50 more men, but you have to decide between need and want. Many departments, through their union contracts, get so many time off. Our firemen, for example, I believe they don't work 100 days a year because of the way the hours are scheduled. We have approximately 100 volunteers. Again, the Insurance Rating Bureau, which is a neutral board in Hartford who rates, just because of the good fire protection we have, has cut insurance rates with brick or cement buildings down 35%, wooden structures from 15% to 35%. I believe these are the experts. I think that we have more equipment. Yes, it's nice to get more people if you can afford it. Even if we put 50 more men, they'd still cry they were understaffed. You know, can we afford them? You need teachers, you need police. You try to do the best you can looking over what the people earn. They got to eat too. You know, so I think, no question in my mind, they're not understaffed. By bringing 6 men down from the East Side Firehouse, in my opinion, they have 4 more paid men downtown than they had in the past 10 years. So they actually have more people without costing the town more dollars. That's what you call efficiency.
Mr. Schiller.
Insurance rates are based in part not only on fire losses, but the number of instances that also occur, and with what kind of fire protection you have, namely fire hydrants, also the type and kind of equipment that you have in your fire stations, as well as personnel. I feel that Naugatuck is pretty well covered as far as the water supply is concerned, and since the volunteers just acquired a water tank truck, I think that is also affected and taken into consideration. As far as the fire department being understaffed, I'm not absolutely sure it is, but I look forward to the day when the volunteers do come a part of manning both firehouses and to supplement the men going out. They're presently, on the first truck that leaves the firehouse, there are 2 men, and I don't think that's enough to service a fire. And to have only 3 additional men back at the firehouse to bring out an additional pumper and another ladder, I think, is asinine to ask those people to drive through traffic in an emergency situation. I think the equipment is, some of it is pretty old. We have a ladder truck that the mayor claims hasn't been used in 10 years. However, I don't believe that's the case. I feel that all departments need proper equipment. They need the tools to do the job.
Now back to Sev Rinaldi, and you will ask the question first of Mr. Schiller.
Okay. Recently, there have been complaints about a lack of police protection in Union City and about crime reports being covered up, thereby making Naugatuck's low crime rate misleading. Do you agree with that assessment of the problem?
Yes, I believe that. The police protection in Union City has been lacking. I checked over a few of the rosters, and I find that there are approximately 15 policemen on days on the day shift. There are 7 to 8 policemen on the second shift, and that includes some of the fill-ins and the days off, cover the days off and so forth. And on the third shift, there is another complement to just a little bit more in numbers, I believe 9 or 10. I feel the second shift has always been short-changed, especially over in the Union City area. The second shift is in Union City has always suffered, because if there is any person that is taking any sick leave or for any reason being absent from the police department, they take the officer off of the Union City beat, the walking beat. They say they cover it with a police car. However, in my observations, I don't believe that is the case, and I think it was misleading for the mayor and the police chief to say there is adequate protection there. We can see since a month has passed now, there has been less incidents of any crime or vandalism in the Union City area. It's been real good, because it appears that the public and those culprits, or the people responsible for the problems over there, realize there is a policeman over there now, and I think that's the way it should be.
Mayor?
Number one, I had never said they had adequate protection. When it was brought to my attention, I did something about it. I went up to the complainant, and then the next day I took the chief up, and we did something about it. That is the responsibility of the police commission. I do not interfere in police and fire matters unless I'm called. I provide some leadership, some suggestions, and I did exactly that. Unlike my opponent, who never attends a police commission meeting, all of a sudden he's running for mayor, and now he's criticizing and apologizing. I thought he was Billy Eckstein singing the song, I Apologize. Everything he does is I apologize. Never made suggestions. You know, I just can't believe a person wants to run a community and doesn't go. I attend every meeting. Sometimes there's 7. I make sure every commission knows I'm in the building. I go to the most important. If there's an important decision and they need some guidance, call me. I go in. I make it my business to be there. He has never once come to the mayor, who's supposed to at least know. I let Clarence in. He walks in anytime he wants. Not too often, because I don't see him that often. However, he's welcome. I think that's one of my best pluses. Accessibility, open Saturdays, nights. The door is always open. You want to talk to Bill Rado? You talk to him. I can't believe that he's making these accusations in a desperate attempt to win some votes. But he ain't going to fool the people.
The contest is for the mayor of the borough of Naugatuck. The 2 candidates, Mayor William Rado, the Democrat, and Clarence Schiller, the Republican. We'll be back on Valley Cablevision right after this break.
Spring is here, and Rivard Jewelers knows that it's time to find that perfect engagement ring. We make that choice easy. Rivard Jewelers has the complete line of art-carved diamond engagement rings starting as low as $100. You can't afford a diamond. For Mother's Day or graduation, Rivard Jewelers has specially designed handmade pendants, diamond earrings, and a full line of 14-karat gold jewelry. Whatever the occasion, Rivard Jewelers is your first and only stop. 213 Church Street, Naugatuck.
Realty World Satani Associates is a real estate company dedicated to providing complete professional service. Realty World Satani Associates has the Naugatuck Valley's largest selection of homes and condominiums, priced from the low 30s and offering mortgage rates as low as 12.5% fixed to qualified buyers. For the stable investment in changing times, call a Realty World professional, serving 10 communities locally, 50 states nationally, and you 7 days a week. Located at 774 New Haven Road, Naugatuck.
Welcome back to the debate that we've been having with the two candidates for mayor in the borough of Naugatuck, William Rado and Clarence Schiller. We've come to the time now for our closing statements after this hour-long debate. After the flip of the coin, which we had earlier in the evening, we now go to Mayor Rado for the first of the closing statements, 2 minutes in length.
Well, I think I will continue on to tell some of the pluses we've done for Naugatuck. The industrial park, our second industrial park, 22 new industries, another one coming in at Uniroyal, the Risden. We have got 152 more units for the elderly, which my Republican opponent not only voted against getting those elderly, he voted against the people going to referendum for those additional units. The State Police Division of Crime has said Naugatuck has the lowest crime in the state of Connecticut for a town the population of Naugatuck. We have a minibus for the elderly. We have a minibus for the handicapped. No transportation whatsoever for the public until I came into office in '73. Now we have regular buses. We have free blood pressures, free flu shots. We have, I have to take a peek here. We have low taxes, which is one of the most important things. We have accomplished in keeping our tax rate down because of the fact that we know what we're doing. Unlike my Republican opponent, and I charge that to inexperience, the accessibility, any problem whatsoever, you can call the mayor at 2 o'clock in the morning, he answers the phone, it's published. I could go on and tell you that the mayor didn't do it all alone either. I have good, excellent people that work for me, and without cooperation, nobody could exist. We've done that. I have never fired an employee. Like when a Democrat mayor comes in, the Republicans go out. When a Republican mayor comes in, the Democrats go out. And this way here, we've kept the experienced people and the best morale we've ever had in the town of Naugatuck.
Thank you, Mayor Rado. And now to Clarence Schiller, the Republican opponent, for his closing remarks.
The mayor has consistently distorted the facts, especially on the elderly. I opposed that referendum only because there was no bid procedure followed on it. The state of Connecticut failed to give it to the Dodge report and didn't attract any additional contractors to bid on it. So I opposed it only in the sense that perhaps we could have gotten more if we had followed the 3-bid procedure, which this administration has chosen to ignore throughout its term. I have been a part of all this administration, acting as a Burgess wetlands member. Contrary to what the mayor said, I've made contact with an awful lot of the different offices I've been in, and we've worked together. I think up until a few months ago, the mayor would attest to that. I care about the challenges that the 80s present to small towns like ours, challenges which no longer can be met by old-style politics, but rather by challenges which must be met with courage and planning and foresight and a clear vision of where we want to be when this decade has ended. I am very, very concerned because our present administration has failed to meet these challenges, because our present administration has chosen to take the easy way out. They seem to have put politics before duty to the taxpayers. I have a vision of the future where our children can attend schools that are properly maintained, a future where the taxpayers' money is spent wisely and only after the proper steps have been taken, a future where problems are not swept under the rug to be dealt with only when they reach crisis proportions, but where problems are anticipated, tackled head-on, and solved with the least cost and the least inconvenience to the townspeople. In short, I look for a vision of what Naugatuck can be, a vision of a better Naugatuck.
Okay. Thank you so much. I would like to thank Mayor Rado, the Democratic candidate in Naugatuck, and his challenger, Clarence Schiller, the Republican, for debating before you the major issues in the race for Naugatuck's mayoralty. Our thanks as well to the panelists for their thoughtful questions. From the Naugatuck Daily News, Sev Rinaldi, Tom Hennick, and Janet Hennick. For Valley Cable Vision and Naugatuck Daily News, I'm Larry Rifkin. Thank you. Now do your part and vote on May 2nd. Thanks for watching.